Okay. So reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. Dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. If you've ever done a puja, like a prayer gathering practice, it's a long version of this prayer. They have, you do lots of praises and prostrations, and then you make lots of offerings, and then you have a period, a place to do confession, rejoicing, and then, and then wishing that the teacher stay around and teach you. So they're really just elaborate 7-limb prayers. And so once you know that, you can kind of sort of spot it. You realize that's what's going on. So this is one of those cheat sheets for making sure you've done everything you should do, every day. Think about, because, prostrating with body, speech, and mind is a way of going for refuge, making offerings as a way to accumulate merit. Confessing is a way to clean up your act. So, and that makes everything that you do cleaner, less tainted with bad habits. Rejoicing the merit of holy and ordinary beings, meaning everybody. And it's really good to get in the habit of rejoicing in all the positive actions, not just now, not just this life, but since beginningless time, that all ordinary beings have done, because we get some of the merit for that. So you might as well get in the habit of rejoicing in it. And plus, it's a really good thing. It's a good reminder that as messy as we make samsara, we have the basis for all these good qualities, and we do lots of things that show that. Just watching the news about a guy in Gaza who started cooking, started to try to figure out where they could get food, and he went and talked to the farmers, and he, and all this kind of stuff, and he started providing food for 600 families every day. Just, he got killed yesterday or today, but it's, because that's what it is. It's a war zone. But it doesn't matter, his state of mind of always wanting to, oh, how can I take care of all these people? Well, it's incredibly meritorious, particularly in a war zone, because the obstacles are huge. So, that's going to help his rebirth. So we have to remember sometimes that getting killed, you're exhausting a negative seed, you're finished with that. So, like, no big deal. You'll be reborn again. So it's our grasping at this life that makes it seem so all important. But it's much more important what we do, how we're thinking, and what we do in every moment than anything else. Then whether we live another 10 years or another 10 seconds. So, all right, and then we'll recite the Refuge of Bodhicitta prayer on page 98, perhaps, on all books of life. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Any questions from the book? Yes.
Can you help in the page 58? Is that one paragraph that you made my questions about? Because you, my body, my mind, in my possession was independent and self-existing, or grasped, then hiding.
Okay, I haven't found you yet.
That's
What page are you?
58.
50?
Here's the bottom
58.
paragraph.
Oh, I see it. Okay. So let me read that to make sure the people at
Yes,
home
please.
heard it. So, okay. So when we think of ourselves, we do so with ego grasping or I consciousness. On the basis of this wrong view, we are greatly attached to this I. Because we view my body, my mind, and my possessions as independent and self-existing, our grasp on them tightens, and many negativities arise in relation to them. Is that where your question is?
My question, yes, how do different?
How to do it differently? Yeah, that's the magical question. The $64,000 question.
Probably answer.
Yeah, so, but this is,
How can help something to help?
well, part of it is reminding ourselves regularly that the self is just a label on the body and mind. It's just a name, like a name tag. Excuse me, my name is self, or my name is me, and my family and my belongings and my job and everything that I think of as mine is the self of other phenomena. So it's just, but it's just a name. So if you can just picture everything that you see with a name tag, self, and you'll notice that there are an awful lot of selves out there, and you can put it on table, cup, whatever. And that's all it is a label. Okay, it refers, we use certain labels because it refers, it is the name we decided to give to things that function in a certain way. So we decided to give the name self or me to our body and mind, each of us, by convention, that's what we call our body and mind, and that's all it is. Whereas we instead, we're imbuing on it all sorts of extra stuff, like permanence, like independence, like something extra special about this self versus that self. So it can be helpful to try to, like when you're going for a walk or something, to just everything you see, remember that, oh, this is merely labeled tree. This is merely labeled sky. This is merely labeled sidewalk. This is merely labeled car. This is merely labeled self. Who is walking? What is this I that is walking? Is it the same I that was, getting dressed an hour ago? We want to really investigate and understand that we really do hold sort of this idea of an I that is me, that's almost separate from this body and mind, that is, and it's permanent throughout our lives, and that there's a nature of me that is me. And we hold that very tightly and we try to protect that I. So we need to undermine that habit. Really try to think of ways in which, or catch ourselves, particularly when that grasping arises, Like when we become indignant, like when someone bumps into us, say, at the mall. We have malls in Florida. Yeah, we do.
Yes.
I obviously don't do them. I just was trying to picture a mall. We have outdoor malls in Florida.
There's an indoor one.
Oh, there's an indoor one in
Oh,
Boca.
So, yeah.
the indoor,
I don't need to know
no, but I mean, it's an indoor mall like you're.
what like I'm thinking of. Yeah, okay. So I used to, the first time when I started walking, with a friend who was told by her doctor, you need to walk. We walked in a mall because it had air condition,
Right.
and she was wearing pantyhose, she had to go to work right afterwards. So, and I just had that random thought, are there any of those here? Anyway, so this is what we do. We create stories, and we chase them. So when we notice that a story has arisen that is about that I or about that mine, oh, my grandchildren would never do that, or, someone bumps into you and you kind of feel, excuse me, we are inflating ourselves with an importance over others. And that is a way to suffering. As the Buddha said, that's a mistaken idea. We're not really independent of each other. We're interdependent with each other. This idea that somehow I can elevate myself up and that will keep me safe. It'll keep me, have all the resources I need, or at least I'll feel good about myself, whatever it is. And it's mistaken. In fact, we need everybody to have what they need. And I mean, this is so easy to see with the planet right now, that it's our only home at the moment. And it's not enough that I was reading about countries that are doing a pretty good job of trying to get a handle on living sustainably, But of course, that's not enough. Every country needs to do it. And a lot of countries need help to do it, all that kind of stuff. We're interdependent. It's not a simple matter. It could have been simple if we weren't so self-grasping, because we wouldn't have let it get this far. But that's not what happened, because we have the habit of self-grasping and thinking it's so important to guard this self in a, more than every other self. And that's the mistake. So reminding ourselves that, and that's just a label. And so when we see people with our friends, our family, and we've got that extra layer. Oh, there's my friend. Oh, look at my kids. And we have this extra layer on it. We need to remember that's a story we've made up. And that's hard, because it's true that they have value to our lives. It's true. Well, we are imbuing them with extra qualities, like my happiness is dependent on them.
That hit home. You just talk about that.
Yeah, that's so, it's just our habit. And we really believe that external things, whether it's an object, or whether it's a person,
Or an animal.
Phenomenon.
well, they're persons. Yeah. So if I never say that, it's because anything with a mind is a person.
That's all.
They're persons.
Cockroaches.
Cockroaches are persons.
Wow.
Good luck with that.
They're mother living beings.
Yep.
Even mosquitoes.
Even mosquitoes, even gnats and no-see-ums, and all those things in the ocean. We don't know. No, unless they prove that plants are sentient. Right now, sentience has this idea of motion, locomotion, that you can pick up your 2 feet, you go over here, or your 87 feet, probably usually 88. But anyway, that it has that in addition. They may someday show that plants actually have sentience. We know they're alive, but it's different. It's about a mind. So,
Is it, or it had to do with suffering?
no, it has to do with, well, that's who, I guess, maybe. But I don't think they've shown that plants are in pain. They show that plants seek sun and they seek water, but that's not quite the same.
I would imagine a brain, if they have neural cells.
Well, right, but so what, you know, it's above my pay grade. I mean, and scientists may one day prove it, and there's no problem with that. Then you just have to treat plants just like all other persons. Good luck with that.
Happens to our food supply.
And treating,
So,
if it lives it, reverence, have reverence.
and that's true with all life. So, but let's not get distracted by the fact that we might have a real problem if plants are sentient. Because then we couldn't eat it all.
Oh, yeah, you could eat fruits and vegetables. I think they separate from the plant.
Yeah, because we cut them off from the plant. So that might not be a good thing if we find out that they have sentience. So,
Like berries and apples and stuff, they're meant to be eaten so that they spread the seeds throughout and
Yeah.
who said so?
I mean, isn't that how the seeds are dispersed?
Well, and you know, women get pregnant and they have babies, and that's how we have human beings, but it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
I don't think you're saying it.
Well, in the sense that if we think the only possible way to end suffering is to, you know, be born human and have to go through all the path as a human being and da 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 da. Yeah, we need human beings, but hopefully, but if we're all enlightened, we don't need them. They don't have to exist. Enlightened beings are not human beings. They're not even sentient. They're enlightened.
Never heard that.
Oh, I'm sorry. But they're not in, you know, they're not sentient. Sentient beings is that distinction between ordinary beings and enlightened beings. Even arhats who've been liberated are sentient beings. But Buddhas are not. It's just a technicality. It's just saying that they've reached a level of sentience, you could say, that is beyond what we could do, because they're not bound by it.
So is that merely labeled also?
Yep, all of it's empty. Yeah, we don't need to get distracted by things like sentient. It's just, but when you're reading text, it's good to know that there's a distinction made. And when you're reading text, generally plants are not included in the Buddhist text. So, you know, it can be a debatable point, but that's not the topic here. So, it's above my pay grade. I need to go to the Mind Life conference, you know, at Emory or something. So, but where was I going? Was I going anywhere? Anybody know where I was going?
Brushing up on the self and the.
Oh, yeah, the self. So this idea, so way to practice this idea is to remind ourselves all the time. So like when we see someone and we kind of go, you know,
We do that.
yeah, we do that. Yeah, you're not alone. But that right there is a sign that you're grasping at that person as being a certain way, kind of permanently that way, you know, and we don't like that, or we love that, you know, for all the people we're attracted to, you know, and all of these are stories we make up in our head. They're only relevant to our own filters. They're not relevant into the needs of those sentient beings, because their needs are the same as ours. So whether we like someone, don't like someone, whether they're helping us or don't help us, they still want happiness. They still don't want to suffer. And we want to become enlightened so we could help them do that. Everybody counts.
Now it's easy to understand. Thank you.
This is very hard to do. This is, I mean, this is our whole major job. And this is why we do things like talk about equanimity, you know, trying to realize that, oh, is based on my relationship with them. And I can inflate myself to be so important that my relationship is the only one that counts. You know, so if they're my enemy, doesn't matter whether they're nobody else's, you know. You know, I can do whatever I want to them because, you know, they're bad people. You know. So when that's the kind of, we need to see the treachery that's involved in grouping people, especially into categories like enemies, or difficult, or unworthy.
Or American bad guys.
Yeah. With white hats and black hats.
Yeah.
You know, that's what all our bias and prejudice and our inequity is all about. This group's not worthy. This group is worthy. So we want to really work on noticing when our mind is going in that direction. Because it only leads to suffering. For one thing, it closes the door on actually experiencing the person as they are. Because you've already decided. This does not mean that we don't have to make distinctions about people we want to hang out with, you know, or people that need to go to jail, you know. But it's not about hatred of people, it's about actions that are not safe. And we have, you know, we need to protect ourselves, our children, everybody from actions that aren't safe. But as soon as we cross that line, calling people evil or, you know, worthless or undeserving, then we can treat them like dirt. Then we can enslave them.
When during the day, there's almost like the thread of the eye, you know, someone's knocking on my door, or like that it seems like it sort of just underlines like every moment of the day.
That my,
Yeah,
yeah,
that. Yeah.
it is. And fortunately, an awful lot of the time it's neutral. It's just a convenient term. You know, oh, that's my phone ringing, you know, but you know, in the store, you can never tell. It's like, is that the Target sound or is it my phone ringing? You know, so it's, you know, but that's why we have to, you know, it takes a little bit of effort to realize when we've fallen over into grasping at something as being inherently that. So.
Why is it important to look at it when when you're either, you know, somebody's giving you a hard time or giving you a good time? I mean, you know, when somebody's.
What do you think?
I have to think.
You're on the spot, Jack.
Maybe because it's easier to see,
Yeah,
but.
Nick, you go ahead, Nick.
Seems like it's really related to fear as well.
Yeah, it is related to fear and on all sorts of levels, reputation as well as physical. But mainly it's because it's easy to see. Because in that moment, when we're being praised and we're starting to feel kind of like puffed up, because, oh, yes, isn't that nice? You know, we can really see this I whose reputation we're really attached to. You know, it's same with our, you know, it might be your family. If your family gets praised or if your family gets trashed, you know, and then you know, like me, I mean, I go to other countries and suddenly I'm a proud American. I mean, it's just hilarious to watch my mind, you know, it's just, you know, so, you know, it's, so when it's just it's a trigger. And so that's when it's really obvious. So you want to notice those moments. So then you can slowly notice when it's not so obvious.
Yeah, but then isn't that, I mean, it seems like you're getting into the habit of making it real when it's not. I mean,
But you already have made it real. As soon as that feeling arises of, ooh, I like the sound of those words, we're there. We've already made it real. It takes,
Yeah.
yeah. So you don't have to worry about that you're reinforcing its realness. All you're doing is noticing you've made it real. And now you have the opportunity to pause and recognize, oh, that's not true. Like somebody else's words don't make our behavior better or worse, do they? So it doesn't really matter if anybody says anything about our actions. It's always good if somebody criticizes us to kind of listen and check up. Is that true? Do I do that? You know, so that then we can correct our you know, future moments. You know, and it is in with praise. You can say, huh, was that a good, you know, but what we don't want to do is make it like, oh, that defines me. Because that's making it concrete and permanent, you know, and we also are attached to it. And the attachment is that extra, it's where you start to crave a good reputation. You crave acknowledgement. You know, I was listening to a talk yesterday about how do you tell the difference between just a healthy sense of pride, healthy sense of self, you know, confident self, and afflicted pride when you kind of, you know, gone over. And the person said, well, one way you can tell is like if you feel the need to tell someone else. So you want to broadcast your achievement.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you want to, you know, you want other people to go, oh, that's so true, you know, and pat yourself on the back at extra time, you know. But this doesn't mean we just want to become the weigher of our actions. You know, we don't want to rely on other people's words or reactions to our actions as the last word. We want to take our wisdom, you know, and look at it. So that's how we can say, oh, yeah, I want to do that more. That's a good habit I'm getting into. I want to do that more. Or, yeah, I'm still doing that. Okay, let's do that less. You know, so because right now we tend to be pulled up and down a roller coaster depending on what other people, how they look at us, how they, you know, what words they use to respond to us, you know, oh, you know. And they're just talking from their perspective with all their filters, their own self-grasping, their own stuff, you know. It's not worth much. Now, if you have a close relationship with someone whose opinion you value, that's probably worth more than just the average person just saying something because they don't know you very well. You know, but it's this discernment we need to make. But we mostly need to watch out for when we're going, ooh, that feels good. I want more. Oh, and that supports this idea of I need pleasant sounding words to be happy. And that's what one of the 8 worldly concerns. You know, 8 worldly concerns are always wanting praise, not criticism. Fame, not infamy. Notoriety. Gain, not loss.
Good reputation, bad
That's fame, infamy.
Pleasure.
Pleasure and not suffering.
I find that if I broadcast a non-virtuous action, it makes me feel more grounded.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth to that. Like, I think there are two words that confuse people, because the states of mind called shame and embarrassment, and that's how they're translated. Shame and embarrassment are virtues. And what they mean is that, the shame is when you have regret, you wish you did not do that. Embarrassment is when you feel bad about having done this in the presence of others, that, so like your teacher would feel bad. Or like they'd be embarrassed. So yes, there's something to that. I find it's really helpful to announce, what I'm struggling with. Because first of all, when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous. It's like you can just see, oh, really? You thought it was justified to get all pissed off with so-and-so because, I don't know, they didn't give you the right chance. I can't think of an example right off the bat, And I really get lucky because as a nun, when I may not say it out loud but if I say, oh, you're a nun, and you just, it's really helpful. So yeah, I agree with you. So well, we have to watch when we're grasping at the attention of being the worst. Some people kind of live in that circle, of just, needing to, and they can't, what skill they've learned is that, if, poor me gets attention, and it's not worse than, hey, I'm great. I mean, both are, they're just two ends of the same continuum, not a healthy mind. So we have to watch that too, when we're denigrating ourselves, maybe a little too much, because that might be indicating something that we want to look at. Any questions at home? Nope. Okay. So that was a good question we started off with. Any other, where are you in the book? Anyway. What?
2 pages from the end.
Okay, so you've pretty much finished the book. Where are other people? Oh, it's at the beginning. So we did the purification practicing class. Yeah. So then it goes on. These are really, this section, chapter 6, has many parts. So, so we talked about the death meditation, I think, last time, maybe. The idea that, we want to recognize that this is a precious human rebirth, and that there are reasons for that. That it's not every human rebirth is precious, but we've met the teachings, we've got good conditions, we don't have too many worries, we have enough worries to know that we suffer, but not so many that we don't have time to do anything but survive. We've got our faculties, we've got a brain that works, that kind of stuff. And that can change, but at the moment, we have good conditions, we've met the teachings, and we have leisure time to study. Those. So those are particularly good conditions. And so then that leads to the idea that we don't have forever. Next life, we might not have these good conditions. So we want to make good use of them now because we have them now. And so then we look about thinking about death, and that it's not for any purpose other than to remind us that we're temporary. This body's temporary. And we don't take everything we've learned in this life and it just goes with us to the next life. Can you remember your past life and all the lessons you learned there? Probably not, so we don't exactly start over because we have habits right from birth, so, but, we want to really develop some strong attraction to the teachings, so that when in the next life we'll look for them, or as soon as we see them, we'll kind of notice, we'll be gravitate towards them, we want to have a kind of good sense of right and wrong, so that, we want to be born to a family that teaches those things. We want sort of not only do we want good conditions, we want to have, that's one of those good conditions, so we want to use this time very wisely. And so we went through the 9-point death meditation, which I'm looking at blank stares. Did I just do it in my head or did we do it out loud? I think we did it. Doesn't matter, but I'm just saying. So death is certain, right? That's the first point. Death is certain. So we need to practice. The time of death is uncertain. So we need to practice now. And all of our possessions, all of our friends, all of our family, none of those things help at the time of death. Only our mind helps at the time of death. So we want to really have some good habits of mind so that at the time of death, it's likely to be curious as opposed to terrified, that it's, looking forward to the next adventure rather than, grasping at this one we can't hold on to. No. Have a question?
Is it good to do that with every moment?
To what?
To sort of like approach each moment that you have, sort of like a death and rebirth, or is
You
that
can, but you don't.
too much?
Well, I think the problem is you want to also live your life, but if we practice, like His Holiness does the death meditation 6 times a day, and I'm sure it takes almost no time at all. He just is very familiar with it, but it's that reminder, it could be now. So, because most of us, even though we all know intellectually it's coming, most of us really believe, but not today.
Or tomorrow.
Yeah,
Or next week.
yeah. But basically, not today's enough, because then tomorrow we're going to think it's not today. And we kind of stay in that kind of frame of mind. And what the teachings warn us about is that means we'll keep delaying our practice. Oh, I'll do it this weekend. Oh, I'll do it, next year. I'll do it when I'm on vacation. I'll do it, da, 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 when I have more time. You missed your chance for that one. So, it's kind of like, it's just this encouragement to use the time you have and to use it well. And so that's the point of doing things like setting an intention, is to kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. I want to use my time well because there's a limited amount, and if we have the habit of it in this life, that makes it more likely we'll have that habit in the next life. We can build on that. And so one of these lives will get enlightened in that very life. Wouldn't that be nice? So we want to remember our impermanence, that it's not just stuff that's impermanent or relationships that are impermanent or anything. It's all impermanent. Our mind's clearly impermanent.
So how would it look if we were to do the death meditation now? How would-
Okay, so you know, you can go through the 9-point death meditation, but you can also, it's a really good practice, do the dissolutions when you go to sleep. This prepares you for what will happen when you're actually dying. So I have too many things open. Okay. So they talk in terms of our elements, elements, okay? Doesn't mean literally dissolving. So the language can be kind of an obstacle just because of the terms that are being used. But basically what it's saying is as we die, our ability to support our consciousness gets less and less. And they talk in terms of the elements. So the first element that goes is the earth element. And this is, you know, it's like when you think about people who live long lives, you know, that they don't get an illness and then die, you know, their bodies become, you know, the bones become thinner. You know, everything becomes weaker. The muscles are not they're not, you can't, you know, there's a point at which you can't strengthen your muscles, you know, because it's not capable anymore. And so they say the time of death, your body can start to feel very, very heavy and you're just sinking into the bed. Okay. And you feel weaker. You know, you feel physically weaker. Your eyesight eventually, you know, you don't open your eyes. You feel like you can't see. And what appears to you of it is a vision like a mirage. So that's the earth element. And so you practice this as you're falling asleep at night and letting your body just get heavier into the bed and sleeping down. And then you think, a mirage appears. You know, you just think this, you imagine this, okay? So that shimmery kind of illusion effect. This means that at the time of death, when that happens, you'll know what's going on. So you won't be afraid. I mean, that's the purpose of this, is to help you not be afraid. Then the water element. It's the water element. Yeah. Yeah, I love this. Lamas of Rinpoche at each phase goes, I must remember to recognize the clear light. No. So that's part of this, you know, so you have these and then you go, think. There's an appearance of the mirage happening. The label is a vision of mirage. My thought merely labels that. This is so Rinpoche. Oh. So the true existence of that vision is totally empty. Nothing to be afraid of. Okay. The wisdom that is aware of the emptiness of this vision is in the nature of bliss. So we're training our mind to be relaxed, because if you don't know what to expect, you know, this can be a very scary process.
What's the problem with to be scared?
Because that's a condition of the mind that can cause a terrible rebirth.
Oh,
It can cause a karmic seed to ripen that is negative. Because you're scared because you're attached to this body. And so attachment to this body is the disturbing emotion.
so isn't the unknown?
It's that you want to stay with what is known. You know?
Yeah.
So that increases your chance of migrating to the lower realm.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if you're in a car accident and you instantly die?
Yeah, you're not
you
gonna go
really
through
don't
all
have a
this.
Chance.
That's
for-
right. But if you
That-
practiced a peaceful mind, we need to understand that what we practice is what's likely to be there in every moment.
Yeah.
So if you really practiced a non-reactive mind, and this is hard. I mean, this is that's one of those examples of self, the I appears. Is when there's a near accident, when you go, "Ugh," or when the actually has meaning because you've been hit, it's so important to try to put into play some thoughts about that. Oh, so this is what my death's going to look like. Well, there'll be another adventure. I have refuge. Refuge is really the best state of mind. You can just remind yourself, and you can practice this when any difficulty arises during the day, when you get annoyed, when you're afraid, when you're not, is to go for refuge in that moment, because then it won't be a habit to go for refuge when you're caught off guard, when you're uncomfortable. You just go for refuge in your mind. I know, I have something to rely on. I can rely on the teachings. I can trust that no matter what happens, it's all empty and my consciousness continues. So yes, I mean, sure. There's the good news about a sudden death like that is you also don't have a whole lot of time to get frightened.
Like you said, if you practice taking refuge, embracing impermanence, or you'd probably be in the mindset to be the fact that you don't have the time to actually do it at that moment, you set yourself up to not be fearful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. And I think that's, it's hard to imagine it because we haven't practiced it. But if we practice it, I remember, like after becoming a nun, doing all this stuff for years, being in a car in front of me flipped over and was careening towards me. And my first thought was, oh, so this is what it's going to look like. The person who was driving the car I was in was going, oh no, I'm going to have to go back and tell them I've killed a nun. We did not even get in a wreck, and the car flipped over again and ended up on the side of the road. But the two screaming children in the car, nobody was hurt. So, but the point is, it is amazing how if you practice these conversations, I mean, I talk about this all the time. If you're worried about a future conversation, you practice. What could it look like? It's amazing how that works for us. That's how all our habits got here, is we just practiced them. And they're automatic. Well, we can just practice new habits and they'll be automatic. And part of that is going for refuge. Part of that is this idea, okay, this is what the teachers say to do. I can have a plan or not have a plan. I'd rather have a plan. This might be right, it may be wrong, but it's a plan. I don't have another one. I mean, I don't have any realizations yet. I'm not clairvoyant. I can't see in the minds of others who've already been through it. Like myself, over and over and over again since beginningless time. But I do have confidence in my teachers. I have confidence in the Buddha's teachings. Took time for me to get there, but but I have that. So doing these kinds of practices, you do it every night for a period of time, you'll have memorized it. And then it's just, you don't have to really, it doesn't take a lot of the two things. I don't know if any of y'all do a purification practice. It took a long time in the beginning Now it doesn't take as much time. Because you know how. You know how to pronounce the word, sort of. You know, you hope you never have to say them out loud because maybe you don't pronounce them right, but you know. But you know, but it goes faster. So, but it's also a good use of your time. And what do you usually think about when you're trying to fall asleep? Probably not particularly useful thing. You know,
Everything.
yeah, you might as well give us something to do.
Depends on what you're watching on TV.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
Television, what's that?
yeah, well, good. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Well, it doesn't matter. Television is just an extension of the stories we make up. You know, I'm surprised any of us got sucked into television because we're already really good at making up stories in our head. So maybe it's just a sign of our laziness. Oh, no, I don't even have to work at the visualization. It's just there.
That's like.
You know, I don't have to figure out the ending. It's just there, you know, so who knows? Okay, so the first thing is the earth element going down, you know, so a mirage will arise. And so basically what you're thinking is, oh, okay, it's merely labeled mirage. That means the death process has started. Doesn't mean you're going to necessarily die, you know, because somebody could rescue you this time, but you're near death, you know, and then the next is fire. So you have, you know, now, see, this is what's confusing. It's water.
Water.
It is water. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's water. I'm feeling the dry mouth, you know, already. So,
You went from earth to water, you did the right.
yeah, okay. So that, you know how, you know, I mean, I don't know if anybody here moisturizes their skin. And you need more of it. You know, so- yeah, because everything's drying up. You know, so this is when your ability to hear sounds starts to diminish. And eventually even the sound of the ocean that you know, this goes away. And there's a vision of smoke. Okay, billowing smoke. Okay. You can no longer digest food. You can't remember the affairs of other people. You know, you just, you know, other things you might not recognize other people, all that kind of stuff. You can't smell. So everything's failing, basically. And then, you know, so you've seen the mirage, so now you're supposed to be thinking, smoke's coming. And then the vision of smoke, it's merely labeled.
Can you help people that you are around that time?
Yes, but you have to, but it's much, you have to be, there's a whole, where's our red Bible? We have a whole book about things you can do. But the main thing is when you get upset as someone's dying, to leave the room.
Yeah.
To not be upset in their presence, because that just makes them worry or grasp, you know, well, I can't leave now because they'll be upset. They won't be able to handle it. But whatever makes them feel peaceful, you know, like, you know, you did everything you needed to do. Everybody's going to be fine. You know, my dad, when he died, he started to look for his mother the week he died, which is really common amongst men. They look for their mom. And so, you know, so I reassured him that he'd see his mom soon, you know, that kind of stuff. So whatever reassures them. You don't start teaching them Buddhism on their deathbed. You know, oh, by the way, did I mention the hell? Yeah, no, don't do that.
Not helpful.
Yeah, because a peaceful mind is a good condition for a positive seed to ripen, you know, and so even though if they're worried about their kids or something, you could say, well, that's a nice thing to, you know, but it's actually a form of attachment. So you really want to reassure them that everybody's okay. And so that's why you don't want to be in the room when you lose it. You know, you want to, go ahead and, get yourself back together, and then go back in, Now, maybe if they yell at you for not being upset, you can, they're probably not that close to death in that moment. So you can show that you're upset. But, but towards the end, you don't want to give them anything to grasp onto that, like, oh, I can't leave now.
And hearing is the last to go.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is.
I've been told that several times.
I think the breath is the last to go.
Well, that's the thing.
Just my theory. So, but yeah, you can be in a coma and still hear. So it just depends on what stage of dying they're at, so. But again, so when the vision of smoke, you keep thinking, oh, must remember that clear light. The clear light's coming. Oh. And when the wind element dissolves, and then the breathing stops. So, and this is when, this like when they talk about how your tongue gets thick and it can turn rude. And fire sparks will appear. This is obviously all mental. If I didn't mention that, these are just mental visions, okay? But so your gross consciousnesses start to not be supported. All your sense consciousnesses are now not in use. So it's just mental consciousness there. And as the mental consciousnesses the gross consciousnesses of are absorbed, we have these appearances called red increase, black near attainment, white increase. I left that out. Black near attainment is right before the clear light. But usually you kind of, your consciousness not even functioning at this point. So after the fire sparks, there's a flame that kind of like it's about to go out, like a blue flame. When that fades, and all your, I think, 80 gross consciousnesses are now not functioning. Because, like I said, because we talk about six consciousnesses in Buddhism, or in this particular form of Buddhism. Some talk about 8, we don't. But, and that's the 5 sense consciousnesses, which are consciousnesses, we're not talking about the eye organ or the ear organ or whatever, but the consciousnesses that accompany those organs that help us interpret, do the mental thing with those things. Those are all obviously they're only there if you have those organs, they're completely dependent on the body, and those cease, until you have a new body. And it has to form and all those things. The mental consciousness goes from gross to subtle to subtle to subtle to subtle. And they say at the heart is called an indestructible drop, which contains parts from the father and the mother, but it also is a subtle, 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 subtle mind. And that's what goes to the next line. So when that gets released, that's the clear light, the clear light. If you are a yogi and have quite a lot of skill, you can meditate on that. And you can realize emptiness in that time. They say that lamas on Kappa became enlightened in that time. Most of us, however, don't. But that subtle mind is released, and it's what finds, a bardo body. It goes into a bardo body. The bardo body is in the appearance of whatever, like a juvenile version of whatever you're going to become. So like if you're going to be a human being again, you'll be a small child. If you're going to be an animal, you'll be in the shape of an animal. If you're going to hell, you're going straight to hell. So, you know, but
Is the clear light the primordial mind? Clear. And that goes the lower realms, whatever.
yeah, it's just your subtle mind goes wherever it goes. Wherever your karma has ripened, it goes.
So, just to be clear, Lama Tsongkhapa did not become enlightened before death.
Right, because he would have had to break his vows.
Oh, okay. And for stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So the monasteries don't allow people to have the tantra vows with consent.
And there is a hell,
Huh?
there is a hell.
Yeah, they're hells. They're not permanent. They're, Hitler's in one, I'm sure. And probably still, probably for a very long, long time. They describe, it's in the book, I think, where they describe the length of time, like you can also go to the God realms. In the God realms, you're just exhausting all your good karma because, it's kind of like all good stuff. And you're not working on the Dharma because, first of all, nobody needs you. They're all having a good time too. So you lose all your friends because you start to stink and all those good things, it's just like your body decaying or something. That takes 350 of our years, just to give you a clue how different the time frame is for these. So anyway. So it's the clear light nature of the mind, which is what? Well, emptiness.
Isn't it pure awareness?
Emptiness is not awareness. What is emptiness?
True nature.
What is emptiness?
Inherent.
Existence. That's all it is. It's an absence of something. It is not consciousness. It's not a thing that you can go, well, there's some emptiness. It is a quality of everything that exists, which is an absence of something. So it's not pure awareness. It is what allows pure awareness to exist. So the Dharmakaya is if an enlightened being is the pure mind of enlightenment plus the emptiness of that mind. Okay, so that's the nature body and the truth body. Okay, so it's really important to remember that emptiness is not a thing. It's also not consciousness. It's an absence of something. So that's why I was at primordial mind. So if you're asking, primordial mind means the subtle mind that's existed, that's in the basis for all our minds since beginningless time.
It's not in. That's not in.
It is empty, but it's not emptiness.
It's not emptiness, but it's empty.
Right. Yeah. So just even imagining these visions, like the clear light, and the fact that it's empty, the mind and the emptiness of the mind, all of this stuff is empty. It doesn't exist inherently. It is, that's just thinking about that. Us create the cause to have a positive seed ripen at the time of death, you know? So it's, so when you lie down to go to sleep, you know, if you think, okay, I'm going to meditate on, you know, the death disillusions in order to benefit. I want to become enlightened. So I want to be able to use even the stages of death as a path, you know, to enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that gets back, you know, so one of the things we talk about in terms of making good use of this precious human rebirth are the 5 powers. So they say there are 5 powers that you practice at the time of death, but there are also 5 powers, and they're the same powers in a different order during your life. First one's the power of intention. My bookends, you know, power of intention. It can also be called the power of planning, the power of motivation, or the power of the attitude. So we want to constantly check our motivation. And so we just all come up with shortcuts for that. You know, we think about, oh, is this going to get me closer to enlightenment, or is this getting me closer to the hell realms? Whatever, you know, whatever works for you, you know, is this, you know, is this useful? You know, it doesn't have to be useful in the sense of, oh, this will help me realize emptiness. That's a great thing to be doing, whatever, you know, but it doesn't have to be like that. It can just be, oh, yes, I'm practicing generosity, or I'm practicing kindness, or you know, I'm helping others. I'm driving safely so other people are safe when my car's on the road. All those kind of things. And you've got others in mind with your activities. Set the intention to be really careful for however many seconds there are from now until the time of death. And these are the kind of thoughts you can have in the morning. You know that you want to make use of every second today, because it might be the last seconds to, you know. Not to get depressed, just to encourage you to use the time well, helping others. Then there's the power of training, or power of familiarity. And this is training your mind to do everything with the mind of bodhicitta. So what's the mind of bodhicitta?
Enlightenment, benefit of all sentient beings.
Correct. You know,
Why enlightenment will benefit all sentient?
it's only through enlightenment. You need to know how to liberate yourself from samsara, how to abandon all your negative states of mind. You need to realize reality as it is, exactly. You need omniscience to be able to know the minds of everybody else that you're helping in order to guide them on the path. So we can help people now, but we really can't lead them to enlightenment until we know how. You know, that's why still having the words of the Buddha are so valuable. You know, the power of the white seed is our merit. That we want to do things that accumulate merit. Not only because it places positive potentials in the mind, you know, so that means we're developing the habits of having a positive state of mind, which means at the time of death, it's likely we'll have a positive state of mind. You know. And before you die, it's good to give away everything. Your last act of generosity. For particularly those things that you care about the most. And then the power of destruction, or blaming the self-centered mind. You know, we need to remember that it's not that story we create. It's not me. It's our disturbing emotions that are the problem. We have the nature that has the potential to become a Buddha. you know? So it's not, it's not us that are a problem. It's bad habits of mind that arise from grasping at a self. And so the more we can look at the self-centered I that's present in so much of every thought, every motivation, why we do things, why we want things, revolve around this self that thinks happiness is getting what you want or getting separated from what you don't want. So we need to be able to notice that mind. That's why, when I say that, I look for the I, when I'm starting to feel a little uncomfortable, I look, where's my I in this situation? What is it? Because it's going to be there. Discomfort comes from that grasping at the I, because we're never going to get exactly what we want. We don't even know what we want, so, but it's this, the more we can spot it in our own mind, in our thoughts, it just helps us kind of see our patterns. Oh, there I am again. Oh, there we go. I really do still think that personally, I think that goofing off is the path to happiness. And I really believe it. It's like, and I have to, it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything. Isn't that great? And then 3 seconds later, it's like boring, but it's like, I really believe it. I'm so habituated to that mind. And so, I mean, it just cracks me up when I think it. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, really? This time it'll work. Like, so not true. So but this is, if we notice, we keep looking for where's my I, and then you go, oh, I want this. There you found that I believe this. Oh, there's that I, whatever. I mean, so you just have to look for it. And sometimes you can't quite find it until the event happens. And then you kind of go, oh, now I know. Because we constantly manipulate language to try to get what we want. We do our actions to try to get what we want. And we don't even realize we're doing it most of the time, until we look. And then we can see, oh, I am so trying to influence everybody to do what I want. Oh, and it's just, and it's because we think happiness is there. And that's the mistake. It's not true. We waste an awful lot of our life chasing after something that won't make us happy. And hurting others in the process, trying to demand this of other people, trying to control what happens through the day, get it all just so, isn't going to work. It's never going to work. So we really want to be able to spot that and at least consider the possibility it's not true. That pause. If it does nothing else, it usually lessens the grasping after whatever it was, so that whatever you're working so hard to get, you can kind of loosen the grip, and just be kind of more relaxed about whatever. So, and certainly whenever you're trying to control something, you need to ask, where am I? What do I think? Because usually you'll go, oh, I think that's going to be, that's what's desirable or something. And it's usually pretty easy to go, yeah, who are you kidding? And just let it go. Because intellectually, we get the fact that getting what you want isn't going to make us happy. We get it intellectually, but we are habituated to chasing it. So we just need to spot that and recognize, oh, I'm lying to myself again. It's not true. Let it go. And you can relax. Because that's where that hook is. When you start to feel a little, tension, it's because you want something and you're afraid you're not going to get it. You know, so you just, you know, you're seeking it. And if you recognize, oh, I know what's going on here, that's because you know it's not true. You know? Now, you will also come up across things that you think, oh, no, that's absolutely true. And so that's when you have to use analysis to start looking at that issue. What comes up for me over and over again that I really think it is true, you know? You want to look at that, sit and reflect on it so that you can unpack it some more. You know, because it isn't that we don't need things, obviously. You know, we need sufficient stuff like food, clothing. Okay. Well, questions, objections, arguments.
Did you get hooked on aversion, like getting rid of, like
Absolutely.
when the client can't, if only the client would cancel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, gee, please don't show up. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's just another form of attachment. You're attached to not having to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even knowing what I want, it's.
What you don't want. Yeah, sometimes we're really good at what we don't want. I mean, I know a lot of women who, you know, maybe my generation, who really didn't know what they wanted, you know, and so like finally their husband takes the kids or something, goes on a trip, and they're at home going, oh my goodness, I don't even know what I like to eat because I've just been serving these other people all this time. And I don't, you know, you go to the grocery store and they look around going, huh, you know, what would I buy just for me? You know, so it's interesting, you know, so yeah, but they're, you know, they're pretty good at what they don't want. We always have to find something to work towards. So
No, I think sometimes you don't know what you want until you know what you don't want.
yeah, that's true too. Well, it's not that. Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, you know, it isn't about that. And really adjusting our mind to notice that it really doesn't matter whether we get what we want, when we get what we don't want. It's our attitude that matters, you know? So, and that's why it's wonderful when we can develop the mind that's happy no matter who shows up. Because the most difficult people are the people that help us develop our good qualities, patience and generosity, and, you know, just being able to sit with the difficult, you know, that we're better people because of those experiences. And so sometimes we have to think about that. We have to think about our life experiences and realize, oh yeah, you know, I really hated that, but I really learned a lot from that.
At Thubten Darjeeling, one of the lessons was, if I meet someone with a difficult personality, treat that person as a great gem.
Yeah, as the greatest gift.
Wonderful, yeah, and it is so difficult to put into practice, but I have no doubt that it is good, a good teaching.
Yeah, and there's really, you know, it's like we talk about, you know, that everything can be a teaching, you know, and the more we can relax into that, you know, and recognize there's a possibility for happiness there, because that's peace of mind. Knowing you can handle whatever comes up is part of peace of mind, you know, and that includes that car careening towards you, you know, just, but none of the teachings I think are particularly easy, you know, because we have habits. So we're resisting having to change the habit, and it seems so hard or impossible, you know, but that's only because we've been practicing since beginningless time. So, you know, it really is, I always think in terms of like our habit energy is like a tsunami, you know. So the new habit has to meet that and then overcome it. So that's not going to be easy, you know, and it's okay that we're going to fail and sometimes we succeed and you know, and that's okay, but it gets easier over time, you know. So, okay. So we have one more class?
Yes,
Like,
this Thursday.
It's the last class before the holidays.
there's a Sunday.
No, we'll be too.
And there'll be a
well,
Sunday. Okay. All right.
So
So,
after that, we have more class.
oh yeah. So
So we should check the website to see when, you know.
I don't know when it starts up.
Check the
Thursday-
website.
Yeah.
Wait, Thursday, the 19th.
I'll be gone.
That's that's why there's not a class. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be gone.
You'll be in Nirvana.
Yeah, I wish.
There you
I'll
go.
be in the woods. That's close enough.
And the website might not be updated for the new stuff for another few days.
Nothing is perfect in this world.
Oh, Pete, really? You think it was samsara.
Wow, where?
Where? What? Who said that? Okay. I know it won't be till January
I'm just saying.
I don't think it's the first Thursday. of January. Somehow I don't think that's what it is. It could be, but I don't think it is.
Okay, so obviously.
That's the first Thursday of
Like it's been-
January is January 2nd.
You know, I'll be back, but I don't think, I think they took 2 weeks off. This is for the volunteers and everybody that helps. I mean, so, and me, but I'll be back by
I think
then.
the newsletter came out,
Today.
yeah, so that kind of tells us what's happening in your future. If you get it, if you don't have it, you might want to sign up. You get the emails.
Yes, that's helpful. It'd be even more helpful if I read them, but only so much I'll do. Anyway, okay, so now we want to take all the good energy of the positive potentials we've created by examining this subject, reminding ourselves of what we need to do. We set an intention in the beginning, so we can rejoice about our efforts and rejoice about everybody else's efforts, rejoice about all the good things that happened while we were here. Take some of their merit, because they don't lose any, we just get some. So, and we'll dedicate them, so. Okay, so we're on page 235 of the book. I don't know why it's like that. Yeah. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may we quickly attain the state of Guru Buddhas and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. And then page 244 or 240, I don't know, one of these pages. Yes. For some reason. That's a little bit much. Anyway, you can read it. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chinrei Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until the sorrow ends. And then on page 234. Oh, I think, is that right?
34.
The swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious one, Pravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. while striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge. And for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you, Yay team.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.